Hello everyone, and welcome to the Yeongam circuit in Korea. This is of course a league race video, and I am obviously still driving my Ferrari. So while I drive around the out lap then for my qualifying lap, I will just once again apologise for the lack of audio on this video, or in-game audio. Again, not really too sure what happened. I think I've managed to resolve it now, but it's a bit difficult to check when you're just before a league race. I usually now check it, do a little bit of record and make sure it's actually got sound before I start, but unfortunately with the league it's a bit more difficult because obviously it's not just me. I can't delay everyone just because I'm checking my video, but anyway, I'm sure we'll manage. So on the first qualifying lap then of the session, so a lot of things I ever so slightly there. It's not gone great at all, but DRS is wide open now, using only about 25% of my curves or so for this long straight. I will of course show you my setup between qualifying and the race, so you won't see it just yet. And on this video I have actually done 2 qualifying laps, so previously it had been obvious that the lap that you're watching was always my fastest lap, but on this one I've done 2, and I won't tell you which one's fastest. You have to wait and find out. How exciting. So coming to the end of the first sector then, of course we're just going to get a time. We're not going to know if it's up or down since no one's said a time yet. I believe it's Ben just in front of me there, so hopefully if he has a half decent lap I won't be catching him and he won't get in the way, which will always be good. So into the middle section now then. Missed a couple of my apexes there, but nothing major. It's looking pretty good. Again, not perfect, but not too bad. Just quickly shutting my DRS on both the apexes of this corner, just to stable the rear up a little bit. So, running very wide there, nearly getting all 4 wheels off the track, but not quite. So it's looking pretty hooked up so far, isn't it? Again, not perfect, but not far off it at all. Just bringing it in nicely there to both apexes. Ooh, missed that one ever so slightly. This is quite a tricky corner as well. You need to try and avoid the curve, which I haven't done there. Ooh, very nearly got on the grass. You don't want to be getting on the grass there particularly. And this corner in particular I find quite tricky. Braking and then trying to turn in, it's all very tricky. So touching the inside curve then ever so slightly by an accident. That'll slow me down ever so slightly. So 37.321 from Ben then. What's my time going to be? It's a 37.322. So actually that claims as a thousandths difference, but for some strange reason, there we go, let Ben got a 3.322, so actually we've done identical times for the first lap. As you see, Rani there's coming in beat us, he's now in pole, but me and Ben are still on absolutely identical times. So on my second lap now though, I can certainly beat that. I have been into 36s in practice, so I can go sort of 4 tenths up or so if I have a very good lap, so that's what I'm hoping for. I think Rani's only done a little bit faster, he's on a 37.2 I believe. So I would quite like to be on pole for this track. I know I'm capable of doing it. Looks like I pretty much nailed the first sector there, getting quite wide on the curb. DRS is wide open, using the rest of my curves then for this next straight. Coming to the end of the first sector, what's it going to be? It's almost a 10th up, just over a 10th up on Rani, so it's gone very well so far. That's already going to give me pole, if I can keep that advantage all the way through, I reckon. So we're going to continue to push hard then as people start to retire now down the bottom. So there's still a minute left of the session, but they obviously can't get a lap in. So keeping the DRS open all the way through that first right-hander, and just shutting it briefly for the left-hander. So keep my DRS open for longer there. Took more speed through that last corner. Ooh, braked a little bit early for that corner, but it meant I had a nice line through there. So DRS is wide open once again then for this tricky left-hander. It's very tricky to get a good line round here, but I've managed it again. And can I stay on the apex? Not quite again, but again it hasn't cost me too much time. Almost 3 tenths up. 4.5 tenths up on Rani. Oh, as I run wide, they get a bit of grass on my tyres. That would almost guarantee me pole. I'm looking for 36s. And oh no, I've run wide. That grass on my outside tyres just lost me some grip. And unfortunately, that looks like that's pretty much it. And I can't even get the DRS open around the final corner. You can keep it open all the way around there if you get a good line. So is it going to be an improvement? It's not even an improvement. 200ths down as Ben then does the fastest lap, 37.1. But I was certainly on for beating that, wasn't I? I was on for a 37 dead, possibly even a 36 if I had a good last sector. So unfortunately I lost it there. Too much excitement there at the end of the second sector, and I actually wound up down in 4th. My teammate Linios has managed to beat me here all the way up to 2nd place, so well done to him. He's had a pretty good qualifying session. I think that's his PB actually, so a little bit disappointed from my point of view, but anyway, looking through the setup now, I won't bother reading it out. You can see it all. I'm sure if you care, you'll need to see it for longer than I'm showing here, so you have to pause the video anyway and copy it down or put it into your game. So see there, I've gone slightly off to the left for camber. That's just to improve tyre wear ever so slightly, because tyre wear is quite bad in this game. It's a 2-stop race. So see then, that's my teammate and there's me. So Ferrari 2 and 4, both on the inside though. That can't be a bad thing. With Rani just to my right there. So right down in 4th place. That is not what I was expecting, but I was only 2 tenths off pole, so it's not too bad. But anyway, race start now. So 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights. So revving up the engine now, and they're out and we're away. So straight to Rich, make sure then minimising wheel spin, but I do get quite a bit, but it doesn't really slow down this game. Using my cursor, I'm already alongside Rani. Oh, his Lineos brakes a little bit early there. Slows Rani up. Oh, we get a bit of a ram from Rani there, but didn't cost me any time. Looks like Ben's already away, but you'd expect that since he started a little way ahead of me. So Rani's behind me then. Lineos looks like he's lost out. He's only down to 4th though, so it's not been too bad. But I've gained a couple of positions. Can't complain at that. So braking down now at the end of this very long straight. It looks like I've gained a bit on Ben under braking. I think I'm faster than on the first sector because I've got large discs, so I can brake a little bit later. So we'll see how that comes into play. But 8 tenths off Ben, 7 tenths more or less off Rani. So it's very close at the moment. But I will tell you now, I did go for conservative fuel for this race, so it means I'm heavy on fuel in the beginning, but it means I will be faster in a straight line. And I didn't show my strategy, I don't think, but I'm obviously pitting twice. First stop on lap 7, second stop on lap 18, I believe. Was it lap 7, lap 8? Somewhere around there. There or thereabouts. Anyway, going to primes for the middle stint. And then going for a quick option run at the end. So Rani is on the primes, I haven't mentioned that yet, behind me. But there isn't actually that much difference at all between the primes and the options on this track. Because of course he did only come a few tenths off pole on the primes. And I shouldn't imagine he could go a second quicker, which is usually the difference between them. But it looks like I'm falling back a little bit from Ben here. I can tell you that Ben did go for aggressive fuel, so he's got very little fuel on board, so he won't really be able to use Rich at all on this track. But it means of course he's faster in the corners in the beginning at least, because he's got lighter fuel. So 1.3 seconds back to Ben now, so I've lost a little bit more time, but it's not too bad. You can see the tyre wear on the right hand side there. Already starting to get reasonably high tyre wear and running on lap 2. So it's looking like an interesting race so far. So braking right down now then. Ooh, so run a little bit wide, wind up all over the curb. Didn't want to be doing that, need to brake a little bit earlier next lap, using the rest of my curves then for the run to the end of the first sector. What's going to be? It was 1.3 to Ben. Looks like it's increased, it has indeed. 1.5 to Ben, 1.2 to Rani though, so I'm still pulling out on him, so I'm happy with that. Ooh, so get on the curb there, don't want to be touching that. So let's see if I can pull a fastest lap then. You can see there Ben is on the option tyre as well. So is Lineos behind the Rani there. It's quite close to Rani, so we might be able to have a run at him at some point. Fingers crossed. Get some good points for Ferrari at this race. So you can see I think Ben's already pulled away from me, to be honest. It's it looks like his aggressive fuel is certainly helping him out on this circuit at least. Because I just can't stick with him, particularly in these sort of corners, the long corners where the fuel's just pushing you wide. The spare fuel that I've got on board. So 2 seconds back to Ben now, so he's gained a lot on me just in the middle sector, and in the last sector I'm expecting him to gain some on me as well. Let's find out. It's been a pretty good last sector for me so far. Can I keep my foot in it around the final corner? Yeah, looks like I can. Ooh, so get on the curve a bit. So it's been a reasonable final sector for me, but I bet he's gained even more. He has indeed, 2.3 seconds, so I do a 42.1. What lap has he done? Let's have a look. He's done a 41.1, so a whole second per lap. That's amazing, to be honest. I'm not sure if that's all fuel. We'll find out towards the end of the race when we're both on similar levels of fuel. But that's a big gap. I need to try and push to try and not let it be quite that big. But ooh, it's a run wide once again in that corner, but I can manage to keep it a bit tighter. So I need to try and push to not let him get that much of a gap. And hopefully I'll be quicker towards the end of the race. But if he gets a big gap to me in this first stint, I'm not going to be able to catch him anyway, so I need to try and push hard. As we come through the middle sector now. Once again, looking at my tyre on the right hand side there. It's getting worse and worse, obviously. So you can see there, Ben, he's already out of sight in some of these corners. Look, you can only just see him going into some of the corners. You can of course see him there in the slower corners. But that's quite interesting how he's managed to pull away from me, and Rani seems to be holding on to me. I wonder whether he's gone aggressive fuel as well. He's certainly not slow, is he? But I am managed to keep just over a second away from him, which is good. So it means he doesn't get DRS. That's what I need to try and do. So 800s down on my previous lap, so I'm looking pretty consistent, but Ben's still pulling away from me. by quite a bit, so it's not going great. 1.3 to Rani, so still just about keeping out that DRS zone, but I need to keep pushing hard to make sure I stay out of it. Let's go into Rich then. I've taken this first stint at least to go into Rich on the long straights and go to standard in the middle stint. So skipping now from lap 4 to lap 7 and on to lap 8 now. It was lap 8 I was going to pit, and you see on the right hand side, pit stop. So I'm due to pit this lap. 4.8 Ben's managed to get the gap up to, so he didn't continue his second per lap advantage, otherwise he'd be 8 seconds ahead of me obviously. So I did manage to curtail it a little bit more than that, and I pulled out a little bit more on Rani, 2.2. Lino saying see 5.8 back from Rani, so he's fallen a little way back. Looking at the mini-map, look, nice big gaps between us, and a nice big gap as well to the rest of the field. So looks like I finally managed to nail that braking point there, look, just about. So on the right hand side, you see tyre wear. It's not too bad actually, it's not as bad as it was in Singapore. My tyres aren't dead, but they are pretty worn, and I'll certainly gain a lot of time coming to pit. I'm planning on going for prime tyres middle stint, and then, as I said before, to have a fast final stint on the option tyre. But I'll tell you now, because I've already made it pretty obvious. Unfortunately, the pit crew do fit the wrong tyres to me, so they actually fit me with another set of options. So it means I'll be faster in the middle stint, but it will mean I will lose out in the final stint. I don't know what everyone else is going to do, but unfortunately that happened. I was going to correct them, you'll see in a moment. I thought about correcting them, but it's always a risk in case you accidentally press the wrong tyres. If you accidentally press the wrong button, press the intermediate button for example, or the wet button, of course they'll put wet tyres on your car and you'll be fantastically slow, and then you have to come in and pit for another new set. So I always try and avoid reselecting the tyres for that reason, just in case I get it completely wrong. But there we go, so coming to the pits now then. It's a very tricky pit entrance. As I run very wide, that took a bit too much speed, ran out of grass all over the tyres, gone to lead mixture then. As it looks like both Ben and Rani have stayed out. Lineos is coming in by the looks of it. Hopefully I'll be out of the way. I will indeed when he comes into pit. Of course we're in the same team. So this gives me an advantage now then. As you saw there, I did get another set of the options unfortunately. But it now gives me an advantage still over the cars ahead, so maybe I can push hard and come out ahead of Ben possibly, or at least reduce the gap a lot. So I'm going to be pushing hard in this out lap then, with these brand new set of option tyres. As I select their prime tyres for my final stop, just to make definitely sure that I'm going to get my right tyres. So as we didn't actually skip any time there, but I did keep stopping and starting the recording of this video because of last race when I lost all of the data. So I thought, well, just in case I do disconnect again, as I was still having the issues on the morning of the race, if I do disconnect again, I will at least have some video to show you guys. But I can tell you I didn't disconnect, I got all the way to the end, so that's good. So it's not a pointless video that you're watching here. So as I said, we are still on the same lap, still on that out lap, so I'm still pushing hard to try and close the gap down to Ben. So in the middle stint, middle sector rather now, I'm gaining on that guy ahead, Son of Moore looks like, in the McLaren. I think he went on prime tyres, so he'll have worn prime tyres, so I'm doubly as faster because I'm on the faster tyre, and faster because my tyres are new. So I'm not expecting him to give me too many problems in terms of getting past. I should have a lot more grip than him. So it's 2.1 to Son of Moore now then. Let's see how much I can reduce that just in one sector, just in the final sector. Out of interest. So come around the final corner now, you can see they're both in the pits, both Rani and Ben are in the pits. It's 1.5, so I've reduced it by over half a second then. It's pretty good, so I'm definitely ahead of Rani, but I am definitely behind Ben, so I haven't overtaken him, but I'm sure I've reduced the gap some. Hopefully it was around 5 seconds when I came into the pits. So let's see if I've reduced it by any. So I haven't got DRS on Son of Moore, I'm not quite that close. But as I said, I'm not expecting him to give me too many problems, so I should hopefully just sail past him. That's the plan anyway. So as he runs a little bit wide there, that's going to give me a huge advantage. I'm now right close behind him. I've got some curves that I'm going to use, and I'm also in his slipstream. So hopefully I should be able to take him at the end of this straight. But I'm not going to take too many risks. I don't want him complaining against me, getting a penalty, or even damaging my car. So there, keep a nice tight line. So if he wants to, he can go right on the outside, but he chooses not to fight too much, understandably. So now, what's the time going to be to Ben? We need to wait to the end of the second sector now, but his tyres will still be cold a little bit. So I should hopefully still be faster in his middle sector. And I do believe I've lost most of my fuel now though, so the fuel situation should be fairly similar. So it shouldn't be too much different at all. So pushing hard then still. I'm not too worried about tyre wear now really. Got a lighter car, and I think it's, well now it's lap 18 I need to pit, I think, because of these tyres that I've accidentally fit. I need to double check the video actually. I might have actually selected them in the beginning to be fair to them, but I didn't intend to go on these tyres anyway. So 3.5 to Ben, so 1.5 seconds I've gained to him in the pit stop phase. That's not bad at all, and I believe I've gained a bit more time on Rani as well, so it's done me favours pitting early as long as it doesn't hurt me towards the end of the race, which I don't think it's going to. So that's always a good thing then. 40.5, fastest lap of the race, only just though. I think Ben did a 41.1, wasn't it? So we skip forward now, all the way through that stint. Nothing much particularly happened as Ben's gained a little bit more time on me. 5.6 seconds he's got it back up to. So he's more or less got it back up to what it was in the last stint, and Rani's now 4.5 behind me, so I've pulled out a little bit of a gap. Looking on the mini-map there, look. Pretty even gap between us. As I believe I'm due to pit on this lap. And as I said, nothing happened in that stint, no one caught me. Just literally was racing around trying to maintain the gap to Ben, which unfortunately obviously I didn't manage to do. I managed to stop him gaining too much of an advantage, but I didn't gain a huge advantage on him, unfortunately. So trying to keep him under 6 seconds then, but he seems to be faster than me in this middle sector. We'll find out. So it's 5.5 at the end of the first sector, so I've gained a little bit, I think a tenth or so at the end of the first sector. So coming through now then, the second sector, trying to push hard, because obviously I'm pitting at the end of this lap, so hopefully I can undercut him again and gain a bit of time on him. So pushing hard again to every few tenths counts, as always. So what's going to be then, we're coming to the end of the second sector now. 5.8, so he's gaining another couple of tenths on me, so he just somehow always seems to be able to gain some time on me in that middle sector and also in the final sector. I will show you a bit of interesting data at the end of this race. The admin always puts up some race statistics that shows you, coming to pits there, all over the grass once again, shows you some interesting things like the average first sector time, average second sector time, average lap time, fastest sector times. It shows you the lap chart. There's a few interesting bits there, so I'll show you that briefly at the end of this video, as well as, of course, the championship table. But as I said previously, I'm pretty much out of the championship now, particularly if Ben beats me in this race. I was 52 points behind Ben at the beginning of this race, and it's looking like he might increase that, since it doesn't look like I can get anywhere near him really. But he did unfortunately pit with me then on that last lap, so I'm not going to be able to gain an advantage, but luckily Rani didn't, so I'll gain a bit more of an advantage on him. That's always a good thing. So going to standard now then. I haven't really got a lot of fuel left at all. Very minimal on the fuel actually. So I need to go to standard for this entire last stint and just hope I can push hard enough to keep Rani away from me and hopefully even gain on Ben, but we'll see about that. So 6 seconds now to Ben. So it may remain pretty consistent through the pit stop phase. No one's really gained or lost understandably when we pit at the same time, and since it's equal cars, we all tend to pit within a tenth or two of each other in terms of pit stop times. So it's pretty similar. So there's no advantage to be gained there like there is in career mode when, say, a HRT would pit in sort of 4 or 5, maybe even 6 seconds. But the Ferrari team would do it in sort of 3, maybe even sub 3 seconds. So it doesn't make a difference online with equal cars set. So still pushing hard now though, like I said, to try and gain a bit of a gap on Rani. You can see him on the minimap there. He's in first place at the moment because he does have to pit again. Well, he doesn't have to pit again, but he will have to because of tyre wear. He's used both tyres now. He's used start on the primes, he's used the options, and I'm sure he'll go to the options now. He's in the pits. I think he's yet to stop. There he goes. Now he's stopped. As I fly past him now then, I can tell you he does put a set of options on. So, pushing now to try and gain an advantage on Ben. Let's see if I can do it. As I said, the fuel situation is now equal since I've got pretty much no fuel left, or just enough to reach the end, and so has Ben, I presume. There we go, you saw there, optimal fuel. And of course, barely any tyre wear since I've only just come onto these tyres. So pushing hard now, see if I can gain an advantage on Ben. If I can, that would be great, but We'll see. I know he's pretty quick in this track, certainly. And that advantage that he's gained in the first stint has stayed with him all the way through, hasn't it? He gained 5 seconds in the first stint. And look, it's still around 5 seconds, so just going lighter on fuel has helped him a lot. But of course it did mean that I could defend heavier if I needed to, which I didn't really need to, or overtake easier. So it's never as clear cut as you should always go for aggressive fuel. Quite often actually, conservative fuel is faster. So there we go. So middle sector now, as I said, Ben usually gains some time on me in this middle sector. So we'll see what he's done. It was it 5.4 was it being in this sector? So still the same if it was. And I'm 14 seconds up on my previous, but of course I did pit on the last lap. So probably not on for a fastest lap since I'm now on the prime tyres. And Rani is 6 seconds behind me. Now it's all settled down. I'm expecting him to close that gap, but hopefully that's just about enough. In 10 laps, so he needs to gain over half a second a lap to be able to catch me by the end. So hopefully I can just about maintain that gap. So we skip ahead now to lap 22. So what was that, around 4 laps or 4 or 5 laps ahead? 23 now, of course. So I'm 40.6. I've been pretty consistently close to my best lap, but now, as you can see there, Rani is only 2.2 behind me. So he's very, very close indeed. He's just a fast lap of 38.8. So I'm absolutely nowhere near that, really. I'm 1.5 seconds slower than that last lap. I'm not sure how clean that last lap is, obviously, because we didn't watch it, but I'm sure we'll find out in just a second with this lap. Finding out how clean that was with the gap, or the pace to my previous lap. So it was obviously good first sector. I was 10th down on my previous. 2.4, or 2.3 really to Rani. And still that 5.5 to Ben, so it's been very consistent with the gap to him. We've been very similarly paced. I think if I went to aggressive fuel, we'd have been fighting all race long. So a little bit disappointing in terms of the entertainment for the race, since we've both had a boring race really because of that. But now I've got my own fight on my hands with Rani, as he's now closing in on me at an alarming rate. We've still got 5 laps left to go, so it's not like we're on the last lap or the penultimate lap. There's still quite a way left to go, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to try and push hard to see if I can't stay ahead of him. Again, like I said, I'm out of the championship more or less now, and especially since looks like Ben's going to finish ahead of me. Doesn't really mean anything second or third, but of course you always want to finish higher and you always want to get more points for the championship, even if it's not going to mean anything. I'm pretty safely in second. I'm about 50 points behind Ben and about 80 points, I think it is, or so, behind the next guy. So it's pretty much going to guarantee to finish second in this championship. So it's still 5.4 to Ben, then a 10th up my previous. It was a pretty good last lap, and 1.7 now to Rani, so he is still gaining on me, certainly. And it looks like he might even have some spare fuel if he's that much quicker than me. I shouldn't imagine he'd be using standard fuel to be that much quicker. I'm reckoning he must have some spare fuel towards the end of this race, which is a big worry, because that means he's going to be able to glide past me, because I haven't got any spare fuel, but I can always use some and then go to lean. I can effectively borrow some fuel, but of course if we're battling all the way to the end of the race, that isn't really an option, unfortunately. So what is he now, 1.5, so I was 2.5 tenths up though in that first sector, interestingly, so it was a good first sector for me. Coming to the middle sector now then, missing a few apexes now. You see on the right hand side my tyres are starting to get a little bit worn, but I should imagine so are his. I can tell you at this point in the race I was hoping that his tyres were going to wear quite considerably, because of course he's on the option tyres and they do wear faster. So I was hoping that just about now he was going to start to get a bit more tyre wear. And if I could hold him off for another lap or two, I was hoping that his tyre wear was going to be equal to mine effectively and we'd be doing the same laps. But I'm not so sure that's going to happen, because he seems quite a bit quicker than me. His tyres would need to drop off quite a bit in order for that to happen. So we'll see, 10th and a half down now. And only 1.2 to Rani, so he might even have DRS on this lap. He's certainly pretty quick. He's come up a lot in previous races. He was a little way off the leaders, but now he's one of the leaders, I think, really. He's very fast indeed, particularly on this track. We'll see if he's just as fast as the next track. I should imagine he will be. So 0.5, so he's definitely going to get DRS then on this lap. I think the detection line might be there, where we just crossed, or it might be that one. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But I know where the activation line is. It's just down here a little way. So as I'm now using all of my cars and rich mixtures, the DRS activation line's there, so he has got it open indeed. But he's probably too far back to do anything about it. But of course, it's just going to put him closer to me, so that he might be able to do something on this next straight as he goes up the inside there. As I look, oh, as I outbrake myself though, run wide, that's going to give him a bit of an advantage. So it looks like he got a bit of wheel spin off that corner though, so hopefully, even with standard mix, I'm going to be able to stay ahead of him. I am indeed, as long as I can brake in the correct place. Slow it all down for the apex. I can indeed hold a nice tight line so he can't duck under me. Stay out in the middle of the track once again so he can't duck under me. I'm going to go right to the left now, or the right rather, because I know that he's not going to be able to do it. So just coming up to a lap car there. It's actually Rani's teammate, Dracorb, who is one of my subscribers that I got to join the league. So I will be doing a video in a few league races time asking any of you guys to join the league, but I won't do that just yet since the season's not over, so you wouldn't be able to get a place anyway, so it's a bit pointless joining just yet. But I'm waiting until we get confirmation of all what's going to happen next season, and then I'll put a video up explaining how to join the league, why you should join the league, and everything like that. So it's only 0.3 to Rani now, so he's definitely right on me, isn't he? He was, I think, just over 1.2 seconds, wasn't it, last lap? So look at that, right close behind me. As he's in my dirty air a little bit, so he loses a bit of time in that last corner, but he's still only 0.3 back from me, so he's incredibly close. He's almost certainly going to hit DRS once again, unless he makes a huge mistake. He does make a bit of a mistake, pushes him a little bit wide. I think he's pushing hard to try and stay close to me. He's once again going to go to Rich and use all of my curves just to make sure I stay ahead, which I'm plenty ahead of him now, aren't I? So it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get me on this lap. So once again, I'm just trying to hold him off, hoping that his tyre will catch up with him. So as I brake successfully for that last corner now, as I'm coming up to Dracorb in front of me there. So it's to the end of the first sector then. I am up half a second up. Wow, that's a big difference. So 0.3, so he's still right behind me is Rani. Ooh, Dracorb has a little bit of a problem there and goes right off the track. Certainly means he's out of hour anyway. I can tell you he tried to do a one stop, so the tyres there. It's only a second set. So you can understand why he's flying off the track left, right and centre, because he's got rather large tyre wear, I should imagine. It is possible on this track, but it's very slow, as you can see by the fact that we've lapped him. So I think he's gone for the wrong strategy there, unfortunately for him. But anyway, I'm still ahead of Rani now, lap 26. So at the end of this lap, there'll only be 2 more laps to go. So can I hold on to him and keep that second place? There's 3 points difference between second and third, so I'd quite like to hold on to it if I can. So I've been a second up on my previous lap. Wow, that's a big difference, isn't it? So I'm not sure how I'm doing for fuel, but I shouldn't imagine it's too healthy. I need to maybe even go to lean at some points. But I'm just concentrating on staying ahead of Rani for now. As he's once again loses a bit of time in the final corner, but he's still most definitely close enough to me to get DRS 2.5 tenths. So 40.5 managed then, 8 tenths up my previous. So does he get a bad exit once again? He does, a little bit of wobble there under wheel spin, but he's got a better exit than last lap. So having to go to Rich once again. I don't bother using all my curves because I gather that he's going to overtake me anyway, so I'm going to try and hope that he either brakes late. I'm going to try and get in the slipstream and use all my curves for the next straight. So braking right down then, trying to get it all stopped, but oh, I've managed to run a bit wide. That's cost me, oh, and I've got some wheel spin on the exit. That's the problem with doing that strategy, is that even now, look, with all that curves, I'm still nowhere near him just because I couldn't get my foot down. I got a bad line. If I would have been able to nail that, probably would have been able to get him into that last corner. But unfortunately not. So Zumacher there's in fourth, 33 seconds behind me. Wow, that's a big difference, isn't it? But I can tell you that Linearity, my teammate, unfortunately made a mistake, lost his front wing, and compromised him heavily. I think he's actually way back in, is it 14th, 15th? Quite way back anyway. You can see there, 1 lap less of fuel than what I need, but I'm going to stay on standard because I want to try and stay with Rani, see if I can get DRS, and hope that my fuel will come back to me as he runs a bit wide, but I unfortunately also run wide. It's not easy staying close to Rani, but I'm going to try. As I said, 1 lap, little too fuel, but hopefully just a little bit of lean mixture on the next lap. When hopefully I'm ahead of him and it doesn't matter, I can then hold him off, or rather get the fuel back, but I'm not so sure. But it looks like unfortunately I'm not going to be able to catch him. 1.1 seconds, I've gone to Rich anyway, but no, look at that, I'm way too far back, probably 1.5 seconds or so, if not more. It's not gone great. 1.3 seconds, so yeah, nowhere near the DRS zone unfortunately, so I've gone to standard mix since there's no point in wasting the fuel that I haven't got any of, when I'm not going to be able to get DRS and not going to be able to catch him now, unfortunately. His strategy has paid off, and my strategy, well, my intended strategy probably would have worked actually, but unfortunately It didn't work out like that. But oh well. So still on standard for now then, just for these straights. So I'm going to go to lean when we get to the middle sector. I hope so anyway, because otherwise I'm not going to have enough fuel. I presume, there we go, yes, I am going for lean. So hopefully now that fuel will tick over onto optimal, and we'll just about to be able to get to the end of the race. So still pushing hard though. Just in case Rani makes a mistake, I want to stay close to him if I can, with what fuel I've got left. So middle of the middle sector now then. Half around the lap, half a lap just left to go. And my fuel is still lasting, but it's not ticking down to optimal. But unfortunately not, look. Because of the sound you can't really hear it, but if you watch the rev counter and my speed, I've run out of fuel. But in this game, when you run out of fuel, it just lets you use all of the throttle half the time effectively. So you see there, it just goes up and down with the speed. So that's lost me some time, unfortunately. I was going to probably finish within 2 seconds or so of Rani, but that's not going to happen now, is it? Be a lot more, but at least I made it to the end of the race. At least I haven't actually stopped on track like you would with actually losing fuel, but of course that's why I risked it so much, is that I knew that wouldn't happen. So as we limp across the line now, as you can see there, confirmation 8 seconds behind Ben in the end, but Rani was only 3 seconds behind him. When you consider when he pitted for his last pit stop, he's around 10 seconds, so he's gained around 7 or 8 seconds on him, about 7 seconds or so, and so that means that if I went for my strategy, I might have even been able to beat Ben, but there we go. Didn't work out like that, so you can see there's the championship positions. 64 points now behind Ben. My objective now is just to try and outscore him for the races that I've been in. You see there, he did 3 more races than me, and that works out as 52 points. So if I can stay within that, or get within that rather, in the last 4 races of the season, I'll be happy. So that means that I would have been world champion if we joined at the same time. So I'll be happy with that, to be honest. But there we go. So I'll show you also, as I said, the stats now. You can see there, we've got a lap chart, a race history rather. So you can see, that also shows gaps, so you can see how far. See there in the first stint between me and Ben, the blue and yellow lines at the top. He just pulled out on me. The lines got further and further apart. Then we pitted. It was a lot more close. He didn't pull out half as much as that. Then in the final stint, it was pretty even, really, wasn't it? Right up until that last lap, when of course I ran out of fuel, but up until that point, it was pretty even, wasn't it? We were doing pretty consistent lap times to each other, so I think it would have been a very close race if we had the same amount of fuel. So just scrolling down now then to these other charts, so you can see that lap 1 positions gained. So I gained 2 mean lap by lap positions. So overall, I was averaging 2nd place, but I actually only finished 3rd because of course Rani overtook me right at the end. Fastest lap times, fastest sector times, and mean lap times, so average lap times, fast and mean sector times, so average sector times, and their relative standard deviation, which shows really how consistent you've been. So I was the most consistent in that race, but very close between me and Rani. And Ben actually wasn't that consistent, interestingly, about 106 or 7% or so. That's quite interesting. But there we go. There's that data. We do get that every race, so if you quite like that data, let me know in the comments and I will include it next time as well. But anyway, up next is going to be India, and I've already started my practice, so it's looking pretty good for that, and my pace looks pretty much on it, so should be an interesting race, and that will be next week. So thank you ever so much for watching this video. Bye bye.